Peace and love, family. This is Young Nas from I Got Options LLC. I hope y'all are doing well today. I wanted to briefly talk on the importance of understanding how the technology sector, how important it is to understand the direction it's headed in, and how important it is to understand some of the different outcomes that we're seeing signs of happening in the future. So, for those that don't know, the stock market consists of all these top stocks and companies that we use. We use their products on a day-to-day basis, especially stocks that are in the technology sector. For example, Apple. Apple has a huge market cap. If not, it's one of the most valuable companies on the stock market. Apple, along with Tesla, Microsoft, Alphabet, which is the company that made Google. You have a variety of different tech stocks, but those companies are literally giants, not only in its sector, but also compared to any other company that you see. You know, what company that you know of is making products like the Apple 17, the iPhone 17, excuse me, and are generating sales consistently, even despite the current economic conditions we're seeing right now. You take a look at other stocks, even I would even say Boeing. Boeing is a part of the Dow Jones Index, but it's more industrial, right? But we see how that's being impacted by the government shutdown. We have people in TSA who are simply not getting paid for their work. And so we're seeing how that's impacting the entire airline industry, right? So that being said, why is technology important right now? Why should we be taking a look at it? For those that don't know, the top 7 technology stocks, they call them the Magnificent Seven, which includes Amazon, Microsoft, Tesla, Apple, what else? Alphabet, Nvidia. There's one more I'm missing. I'll put it up there. It's on the tip of my tongue. I think Apple, right? I said Apple. But those are the Magnificent Seven. The Magnificent Seven. These stocks are very valuable. Their market cap makes up 30% of the equity of the S&P 500. So basically, they're the top stocks in the stock market, basically, right? They make up 30% of its value, equity-wise, right? So I say that to say these companies, all 7 of these companies, have either integrated or partnered with AI businesses or AI infrastructure. So with that being said, I want to briefly, and this is also this is recently. You know, this has been in the works over the past few years, but it's within the last 2 maybe month, I would say, that we have really seen the uptick of AI integration. Even with Apple, there was a recent news report that came out that Apple, along with Nvidia, along with Amazon, integrated more AI infrastructure, a part of their business going into 2026. So I say that to say this has raised a lot of eyebrows, because with the condition that the U.S. economy is in, with high inflation and high interest rates, for those that don't know, when technology stocks are in a high interest rate environment, it's going to cut down its profits naturally, right? But especially when it comes to this AI business plan that we see all these 7 stocks doing. Why? Because companies like OpenAI, which is the maker of ChatGPT, they are primarily using these business deals. They're making these business deals, but it's stemming not from equity that they have, but from debt. So with that being said, this isn't the only example of a time where we've seen a potential bubble happen, right? For those that don't know, AI is being likened to the dot-com bubble, right, back in 1999, where we've seen a huge influx of optimism and positive sentiment for companies that, you know, were involved with the dot-com, you know, those things like that. The major difference that we'll see with this, from my judgment, right, is that with the Magnificent Seven, it's different, because these companies have proven their financial stability. They're profitable. They have years of profitable history, but it's the timing of this AI implementation. If this AI implementation, and not only that, it's also the nature in which it's implementing this AI business plan. Like I said, it's not for some companies like Oracle, right? Oracle is in debt, where Oracle is using its debt. If I'm not mistaken, it bought back like $18 billion or $18 million worth of bonds, and it planned on using that debt to cover some expenses to expand their AI plan with OpenAI, if I'm not mistaken. So with that being said, if these big giant tech companies are even not even using equity, but they're using debt to cover expenses to expand their business horizon, think about OpenAI, right? Which isn't a publicly traded company. It's a private company. So with that being said, we know that OpenAI is still using a considerable amount of leverage to carry out these business plans and these partnerships, right? So with that being said, since we know that the U.S. economy right now is at, well, as far as inflation, we know it's still high. There's a recent report showcasing that $18 trillion worth of debt is present within within the household. There's $18 trillion worth of household debt just from the last 3 months, from quarter 3 of this year, if I'm not mistaken. So, and that's a record high. That's a record high. So, what does that tell us about the potential negative consequences? Obviously, we know about the positive, right? We know if this carries out successfully, this could yield great business returns. But the timing of it, alongside with the nature of this whole idea, naturally has a lot of visible cons. I'm not going to say it has more cons, but it has visible cons that seem more, how do I say this, blatant than the pros, right? Because we know the pro is, okay, the company's going to make money, but the companies are the company, from in my honest judgment, we could possibly see how, because these companies are putting so much into AI, if this doesn't hold up, if this doesn't end up working out for whatever reason, can we attribute it solely to the fact that, okay, the AI situation didn't work, or are we going to attribute it to, okay, it didn't work, but then it's also worse because we have this sentiment of economic turmoil, the implementation of inflation, we're not knowing where interest rates are, whether they're going to be cut or raised. See what I'm saying? So it also comes down to timing, in my judgment. So we can see, in my judgment, I think with quarter four, these tech stocks, I think they're going to do very well. Quarter four has historically proven to be a very profitable session for these companies, such as Apple and Amazon, Tesla, such and such. So, but I think within the next 2 years, and this isn't a financial advice or anything like that, but this is just from what I am studying, I see the likelihood of a decline from these tech stocks. It doesn't have to be a crash or necessarily it will be a recession, so to speak, but not a crash. But it also it really depends on how the outcome of this business with AI results. It really depends on that. But I think that because of the nature of these companies and because they're actually stable and sound, and in the manner of how they're even conducting these business plans, I think that if it doesn't work out, because all 7 of these stocks are involved in AI, then it's going to cause a collective negative bearish sentiment on the stock market. But it's going to eventually recover, as it recovered back in 1999 with the dot-com bubble. So that's what I wanted to express with you all. It's not a me saying that. It's not me trying to say this was going to happen, but this is just basically me trying to express to you the importance of what is going on, and also understanding why investors and analysts have this sort of apprehensiveness towards this AI infrastructure, right? But nonetheless, even if the market crashes, we can still profit. But we're as far as like investors who actually just invest their money in these companies and want to see these companies grow and not fall, they have more connection, more reason to want to see these companies succeed. But traders, we profit whether the market goes up or down. So it really doesn't matter to us. But we just want to understand what's likely to happen in the future. So yeah, I really want to touch on that briefly because we're going to see this be a more prevalent topic in the days to come. So definitely stay tuned. If you thought this was informative or helpful, if I managed to even teach you something new, please share this with somebody that you know. And let's continue to study and stay up to date on the condition of really just the U.S. economy, especially because understanding that can also help us to understand how we can better our living conditions by profiting off of the companies. So that way the companies aren't just profiting off of us. All right.